Hello, I'm Cindy Dahl, registered dietitian nutritionist, nursing home administrator, and food safety instructor. I'm here to talk to you about best practices for food service in skilled nursing facilities. I've worked in skilled nursing care for over 20 years. Since I was in high school, I've had a fondness for the elderly and people who have needs to be met in healthcare. What I have learned is that whether a big facility or a small one, we all face similar challenges. You have chosen to be part of the goodness in the world. You work in skilled care. That's very important and honorable, but it's not always easy. I hope that this series of videos will help you in your work and inspire you to be your very best. Remember, food that you provide promotes healing and brings joy into people's lives. Let's become experts in our work so when our surveyors come to the door, we can proudly say, "Welcome." We're the food and nutrition professionals and we're glad you're here. We know the regulations, we know how to implement them, and we're going to show you how we roll. Again, welcome and thank you for being here. The topics presented here will be best practice guidelines. It's always important to follow your specific facility approved policies. Here's some food for thought. All food has bacteria in it. Just naturally, all foods support conditions for bacteria to grow. And while a healthy person's immune system can handle the naturally occurring bacteria in food, in our skilled nursing facilities, many residents have weakened immune systems. They may be sick already. Unsafe food that would make a healthy person only mildly sick could potentially make a resident seriously ill. Handling food correctly and being an expert in kitchen procedures helps keep people safe. Sons and daughters entrust us with their moms, dads, grandmothers, and grandfathers. Let's honor them and together master the basics of food handling. At the conclusion of this video, you will be able to explain why good hand hygiene is important, explain how and when to wash your hands, understand the new rule regarding bare hand contact of food, explain the procedure for changing gloves, and name 2 ways to serve food without your hands touching the food. The customers we serve depend on us to provide safe, wholesome food served attractively and in a sanitary way. To do this, everyone must be aware of how their personal habits affect the health and safety of food, coworkers, and customers. Good personal hygiene begins at home, with a clean body, clean hair, and clean clothing. It's important to shower and use deodorant daily. Be sure to comb or style your hair in the restroom, never around food. And don't forget to brush any hair and dander off your shoulders. Glasses, combs, makeup, your face, and hair carry a lot of germs, so you should always wash your hands if you've touched those surfaces, especially before working in the kitchen. Keep your fingernails short and clean. Nail polish and false nails can chip or fall off, presenting a possible contamination hazard if they fall into food. Some facilities may allow nail polish and false nails as long as the hands are always gloved. Be sure to read and understand your facility's policies. No jewelry should be worn other than a plain wedding band. Why? Jewelry presents a safety hazard as it can fall into food. Rings that have indentation, crevices, or intricate details cannot adequately be sanitized. Any cuts, wounds, or open sores on hands or arms must be completely covered by a waterproof bandage. In addition, wear single-use gloves over any bandages on the hands and fingers. Regulations state that food employees must wear hair restraints such as hats, hair coverings or nets, beard restraints, and clothing that covers body hair that are designed and worn to effectively keep their hair from contacting exposed food. Best practice would be to have all the hair on your head covered by a hairnet, regardless of its length. And if you have a mustache or beard, it should be covered as well. Be sure to refer to your facility policy on facial hair. Right now, you may be saying, but I see chefs on TV and in restaurants, and they don't have hairnets. But remember, we serve people who may be ill or compromised. We must hold ourselves to a higher standard. Clean uniforms help to minimize contamination. They should be fresh and clean each day when you arrive at work. Aprons, lab coats, chef coats, and smocks should be removed when going outside, to the break room, and for all trips to the restroom. All of these places are potential sources of contamination. And remember, for your personal safety, wear low-heeled, closed-toed shoes with non-slip soles. Always follow your facility-specific policies on footwear. Another source of potential contamination is personal items. Street clothes should be stored in the locker room or an area designated for them. Beverages and lunches should be placed in the employee refrigerator, not in refrigerators that store food for residents. Remember to check your facility's policy on cell phone use in the kitchen, as well as other personal items such as radios, personal fans, and earbuds. All of these items carry a lot of bacteria. They are also very tempting to handle repeatedly. And if you do that, then you need to wash your hands repeatedly. Also very important to good hygiene and food safety is your personal health. No employee who has a contagious disease such as flu or who has these symptoms should be allowed to work around food. Vomiting, diarrhea, fever, sore throat with fever, or jaundice. If you are not feeling well, you should not be at work. Be sure to know your facility's policy on calling in sick so that you notify the right person. You may also need to call and speak to the infection preventionist for evaluation before you return to work. Washing hands is one of the most important steps we can take to avoid getting sick and spreading germs to others. Humans carry germs internally and on their hands, skin, and hair. The best way to prevent the spread of germs to food is to ensure that hands are washed and protected when handling food. Anytime hands touch something, there is a risk of contamination with harmful germs or chemicals. To prevent contamination, employees must wash their hands thoroughly before starting work and in the following situations. Immediately upon entering the kitchen, before putting on a new clean pair of gloves, after removing gloves, before, during, and after preparing food, before eating food, after smoking, before and after caring for someone who is sick, before and after treating a wound, after handling raw meat, after touching garbage, after using the toilet, after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing, after using a handkerchief or tissue, after touching your face, hair, or glasses, and after picking up dropped items. Just as important as when to wash your hands is how to wash your hands. Start by wetting your hands with warm running water. Next, apply soap and lather your hands by rubbing them together with the soap. Be sure to lather the backs of your hands and above the wrist, between fingers, and scrub under your nails. Scrub for at least 20 seconds, or sing the happy birthday song twice to estimate the proper length of time. After scrubbing, rinse your hands thoroughly under clean running water. Next, dry your hands with a paper towel and use the paper towel to turn off the tap. Make sure to dispose of the towel in a trash can without touching the can. Now, you might ask, can I just use the hand sanitizer in the kitchen instead of always washing my hands? The answer is no. Sanitizers are not a substitute for hand washing. FDA food service approved hand sanitizers may be used after washing hands just before putting on gloves. Now we're going to talk about glove use. Why do we need to wear our gloves? Because the newest CMS regulation, effective November 28, 2017, states employees should never use bare hand contact with any foods, ready to eat or otherwise. And the appropriate use of items such as gloves, tongs, deli paper, and spatulas is essential in minimizing the risk of foodborne illness. Using these items correctly means that your hands do not directly touch the food. Keep in mind that the use of gloves may create a false sense of security. Just because you're wearing gloves does not mean your hands are clean. You should always be aware of things you are touching with your gloves that could be contaminants. Gloves should never be used as a substitute for hand washing, but they can help keep food safe by creating a barrier between hands and food. The only type of glove that should be used in food preparation is a single-use glove, and regulations state that we can never wash or reuse those single-use gloves. In addition to food preparation, use single-use gloves when touching any part of a utensil that will come in contact with food. For example, when setting a tray, if touching the tines of the fork where the food will be, gloves should be worn. When should you change your gloves? Whenever contamination is a possibility, even if you simply touch a part of your skin or if you adjust your glasses or hairnet. Other times to change your gloves include after taking out the trash, after an interruption, such as answering the phone, after using cleaning chemicals, if gloves are soiled or torn, when changing to a new task, after handling raw meat, poultry, or seafood, before handling food, and a best practice is to change your gloves every 4 hours at a minimum to guard against unseen punctures and because 4 hours is long enough for germs to multiply to dangerous levels. Before putting on gloves, always wash and dry your hands using the hand washing method you learned earlier in this video. Next, select the correct glove size. Gloves that are too large will not stay on. Those that are too small are more likely to tear easily. Check the gloves for rips or tears. Never blow into the gloves. Blowing air and potentially saliva increases the risk for contamination. Also, don't roll up gloves to make them easier to put on. Remove your gloves by grabbing at the wrist and peeling off, keeping the soiled area inside. Let's review. Hand washing is the best way to avoid food contamination. Hands must be washed before putting on gloves. Hands should be washed for a minimum of 20 seconds. Utensils or gloves should be used to touch food, not bare hands. If you are sick, do not come to work. If you are unsure if you should come to work, call the infection preventionist to be evaluated. And if you get a cut or have an open sore, it must be covered with 2 waterproof coverings. Good personal hygiene, thorough hand washing, and proper glove use are all very important in protecting the health and safety of those we serve. When we take good care of ourselves, take pride in the work we do, and the important services we provide, we set an example for others. Every year, by regulation, your supervisor is required to document that each food and nutrition employee has achieved competency in their work areas. This includes both technical skills and knowledge of current regulations. Your supervisor will be asking you to demonstrate correct and consistent performance of the skills and knowledge related to your job. We hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being part of the goodness.